Again, let's finish reading some more. Same sun here. Silas House, Anila Vishwani. Today we are on page 192. 192, January 20th, 2009. Sometimes I forget and still write 2008. Do you? Okay, this says Dear River. So Mina is writing a letter to River. Mina is writing a letter to River. Surprise! I've been learning to type. Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. It just took a second to make all those exclamation points. I don't think I would ever learned to type if it weren't for you and our letters. I am at the library. The man at the computer next to me keeps sneezing. Achoo! And everyone around him keeps saying, bless you. It's kind of funny. I never used to say bless you when someone sneezed at home. That is something I started doing since I came to New York. Happy Inauguration Day. So that's the day that Obama became president. We watched it on TV at school. Did you? Ms. Bledsoe was so happy, she cried. She talked to the class about what it means to have a president who looks like her and so many other people in the country and world. And she talked about how times have changed. Her great-great-grandparents were slaves in North Carolina. She said she wished they were alive to see this day. So it sounds like Miss Bledsoe is African American because she was happy when Obama was president because he looked like she looked. And she remembered that her great-great-grandparents were slaves because they were African. And she wished that they were alive so they could see us having a Black president. Kiku said that if he and Anna Maria have a baby someday, maybe it could be president. He said that he would like to have a half Mexican, half Indian leader. I like Obama because he is very smart and because it seems like he tries hard to be fair to everyone. Also, I think he has nice hands and teeth. I don't know why that's important. My favorite parts of watching the inauguration were the music, the pictures of Washington, D.C., and when President Obama said his middle name. Hussein is also an Indian name, and it made me feel very proud, and like I belonged to what was happening in some way. So Hussein is Barack Obama's middle name, and it's Arabic, but also Indian. I am at the library because there is no heat in our apartment. There is no water. And yesterday, a dead mouse fell through Mrs. Lau's ceiling and onto her kitchen table. Cuba stretched his nose over the edge of the table and sniffed the mouse for a long time. It is so cold. We have all been sleeping in our coats and hats and scarves. And when Mom gets home, we turn on the oven and leave the door open and huddle around it to warm up. No heat in the winter in New York. That's very bad because it's very cold in New York in the winter. Mrs. Lau says that the water and heat aren't really broken. She says it's the landlord trying to make us all so uncomfortable that we leave the building so he can sell our apartments for a lot of money. Mrs. Lau says that this is illegal, but is what happens all over Chinatown. She says if we were rich white people, if it were rich white people living in our building, the landlord would fix things and take good care of everyone. I have been listening to Here Comes the Sun. It is a really nice song. I love the way he sings, It's All Right. Kiku gave me a little picture of the Beatles from a magazine, and I taped it inside my locker right next to my picture of Beyonce. So at school, she has a locker, kind of like this, and inside she put pictures of the Beatles and Beyonce. A chorus line, the play that they were working on, is over. It went really well. I'll tell you about it now. When the show started, the first thing you saw was a backdrop I drew and painted. It took me until the day before the show to finish. It's a New York City scene of the Empire State Building and the Manhattan Bridge and the Statue of Liberty. At the bottom of the backdrop is a street full of buses and cabs and the entrance to the F train and lots of people walking on the sidewalk. So the backdrop, kind of looks like her picture down here. It's got the big buildings. We just need the buses and there's a taxi, right? So we just need more people. I drew lots of random faces and also people I know, like Mrs. Lau and Kuba and Kiku on his delivery bike, Mom and Dad in the back of Sushi Uncle's cab. All along the sidewalk, I drew every kind of person there is in New York. Black, white, Thai, Mexican, Pakistani, Jewish. I spent a long time trying to get their faces right. I stink at drawing noses. So that means she can't draw noses very well. But I'm pretty good at eyes and mouths, which are easier to draw. I have not told anybody this, not even Kiku, but in the middle of the block, I drew a little pagoda tree with a monkey sitting in it. And underneath the tree, I drew Daddy in her white sari holding her grass sickle and school books. She is the best drawing I have ever done. She looks just like herself. It made me feel a little better to put her in a show and put her in New York. Daddy could not see the show because he had to go back to New Jersey. Mom was supposed to come closing night, but Mrs. Rankin had an emergency at work, so Mom had to stay late babysitting. Sometimes it makes me mad that those two little children see more of Mom than I do. I was really sad about Mom missing the show, and Kiku and Mrs. Lau tried to make me feel better. They both got dressed up. Mrs. Lau wore a long red skirt and a black turtleneck and a jade comb in her hair. And Kiku put on Daddy's suit. He called Daddy first to make sure it was okay. We ate an early dinner and Mrs. Lau called Kiku a good looker and they argued about politics. Mrs. Lau doesn't like Obama as much as Kiku does, and that makes him really mad. Afterward, when they were cleaning up, Kiku sat on the couch and watched TV. I said, "Hey, good looker, do you think you're too pretty to wash the dishes?" And he said, "I'm too pretty to wash, but not too pretty to dry." So he was going to dry the dishes. He took off Daddy's jacket and rolled up his shirt sleeves, and we stood together in the kitchen, me washing, Kiku drying, and Mrs. Lau putting everything away. The show was so good. I wish you could have seen it. Beforehand, we did voice warm-ups. La, 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 la. And Miss Bledsoe made a speech about togetherness and gave us each a red carnation, a red flower. I saw her in the wings crying during What I Did for Love. As for me, I only messed up one light cue at the very end. And Kiku said no one noticed. So she was turning the lights on and off for the play. Some things did go really wrong though. Like one of the trombonists got a nosebleed in the middle of At the Ballet. And Alice Tong stuffed socks in her leotard so it would look like she had boobs, breasts, and one fell out while she was dancing. Also, Peter Schliff had an asthma attack right before his solo number. It's so amazing how all this stuff goes into making a play and how all those crazy things happen, all these crazy things happen backstage. But to the people in the audience, it looks perfect and easy. It's like there are two worlds in drama club, the world on stage and the world backstage. It reminds me of how I feel all the time. Like there's America right in front of me, but backstage in my mind are Musori and Daddy and the mountains. At the end of the show, the audience gave us all a standing ovation. That means they stood up and clapped. Yay, yay. Everyone who worked backstage, like me, also came out and got to take a bow. I could see Kiku and Mrs. Lau smiling and clapping in the third row. I wished Mommy and Daddy and you could see me. Afterward, Mrs. Lau said maybe it was good that Mom hadn't been there because she would have been upset about the girls in leotards. The leotards are the things that dancers wear. Kiku said that was my favorite part. Totally gross. But then he said he was proud of me. And when we got home, he told Mom about everything and said it was the best play he'd ever seen. I'm really glad I joined the drama club. It makes me feel like I belong at PS20. PS20 is her school. I think PS stands for public school, 20. That's how they name their schools in New York. I can hardly wait for next year's play. We are going to be doing Oklahoma. So Oklahoma is another musical. Page 198. It's the time of year in New York when lots of Christmas trees are dragged out to the trash, right? Because Christmas is finished. There's tinsel flying everywhere in the street. There aren't many trees out on the curb in Chinatown, but where I go to school, which is a little bit farther north, there are. In 6 days, the streets of Chinatown will be filled with confetti and firecrackers for Chinese New Year, the year of the ox. Mrs. Lau knows the boy who will be dancing in the head of the dragon. She used to work at the factory with his grandmother. So Chinese New Year is not the same day as January 1st. It's a different day. So that's why they're celebrating Chinese New Year. And during Chinese New Year, they have a dragon dance. So they wear, a lot of people dance together and look like a dragon. And she knows the boy who's going to be the head of the dragon. Things with the apartment have gotten bad. There's a big condemned sign on Vanessa's door. And Mrs. Lau is worried that we will be found out soon. We wait at the top of the stairs and listen before walking down so that we won't see anyone in the building. We used to say hi to people, and Mrs. Lau would tell them we've helped her with her cooking, cleaning, and laundry, and to expect us to be coming and going all the time. But now it seems better to disappear, at least for a little while. None of us has been sleeping much. A few days before New Year's, Mom woke me up in the middle of the night and said, "Help me cut my hair." The light was bright and I was sleepy and confused. I sat up in bed and watched her as she stood in the middle of the room and cut off her hair. She said she had to do something to change things, to feel different, or she'd die of grief. Her hair fell all over the floor in big black ropes. It used to hang past her waist, down, long hair. Now it is short as a boy's, like this, like mine. And what's weird is that as soon as her hair was cut, she looked in the mirror and said she felt better. And she's been happier ever since. I think she looks quite pretty with short hair. And I like seeing her ears. They are small and sweet. So look at all the hair that her mom cut off. Daddy came home a few days later. He got upset when he saw Mom. He loved her long hair. He said she looked American, not Indian. She said, "It will grow back. Don't worry." But he went in the bedroom and shut the door. The next day, they had a big row because Daddy gave Mom money for the electricity bill, and she said she didn't need it. She'd already paid the bill. Daddy started shouting, and well, since I am on the computer, I'll type it out for you like a play. So a row is the British word for argument, fight, row. Okay, so in American English, we say fight or argument. We don't say row. So this is a play of Daddy and Mommy, Mina's mom, fighting, arguing. On page 200, Daddy shouting, "You already paid it?" Mom whispering, "Be quiet, they'll hear you downstairs." Daddy, quiet now, but still very mad. "So these days you pay the bills and tell me what to do? Who is the man and who is the woman?" And Mom says, "I have to be the man while you are away." And Daddy says, "And now that I am here, there are two men?" He was mad. Here, Mom started to cry and went over to Mrs. Lau's to get away from Daddy. I sat with him on the couch. He had the citizenship book open on his lap, but he wasn't reading. He said, "Nobody needs Daddy anymore. Everyone is fine, making their decision and paying the bills." I told him that wasn't true and that Mom had only cut her hair because she was so sad and she needed to make a change. He looked surprised, but then he nodded. By the way, I forgot to say that all of that actually happened in Hindi. Right? They weren't arguing in English, they were arguing in their language, which is Hindi. I know just how Daddy feels. Sometimes when Mommy, Daddy, Kiku talk about something that happened before I lived with them in New York, it hurts my feelings. I feel left out and small, even though I know they don't mean to make me feel that way. Like over New Year's, they talked about their second year in New York and how they had gone to Times Squares and gotten confused about the subway. They laughed so much when they told that story. And I could see it had been a really good time. I thought of me and Daddy at home in Missouri while the three of them were laughing in New York. It hurt. Kiku noticed I was sad and he made a face at Mom and they changed the topic, but it still hurt. He made a face like, "Stop talking." Okay. Mom always says it was money and immigration laws that kept us apart from all those years. But I don't know. Sometimes it feels like they just abandoned me. Like they wanted to leave me. Like they wanted to go off and live a happy life without me and Daddy. Maybe that sounds crazy, but I don't think they missed me as much as I missed them. I better get off the computer. I have been typing to you for 17 minutes and 20 seconds. Since the library has free computers, there's a time limit, 20 minutes for each person. It makes it easier to share. Write soon and tell me what is happening with you and Town Mountain. I am getting the telepathic messages from you, but I still get worried. Okay, time to press print. Bye now for Mina. Bye for now, Mina. P.S. Yes, an Authrey is a kind of prayer with lamps and oil and burning wicks and bells and singing and gods and goddesses. It's very beautiful to watch. Mom does this 2 times a day. Okay, so we are finished with page 202. Good job. Keep reading and don't forget to take notes in your book.